We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday, and we have a guest. It's somebody you've been waiting for. It's been a while since she's been here, but she is back. Old Soul. Thank you for coming back. A lot of people thought you were holding out for more money. That wasn't the case. Old Soul doesn't do this for the money any more than I do. She had
The
some shit going on.
hmm the wild child left, and my mother and I we were able to go to the women's prison. We got to do 3 days. Yesterday was the last day. Um, yeah.
You went to the women's prison. A lot of people,
hmm
like yesterday, my wife and I and my sister-in-law went out in the boat because it was fun, and you can see on my face if you're watching the video, my face is all red. Uh, it's from the sun, and I didn't wear suntan lotion or oil or whatever. That's what we do for fun. But Old Soul and Old Soul's mom goes to a women's prison. Sounds like a
Yeah.
blast. What brought you there? Did you want to pass the message along about the voting thing, or was it something else?
Yeah. If you don't have a felony, if you have a misdemeanor, any of the things below a felony in the state of Nevada, you can still vote. So a lot of these people, or women and men, in the either the camp or the mediums, those are all misdemeanors and stuff like that. And so they are able to vote. So it's just convincing them to put in their request for their mail-in ballots and fill it out, send it back. You can still vote even if you're in prison,
How
but
did the,
it's just kind of like motivating them to actually do it.
how did they
Um,
respond to you? How did they respond to you? I mean, because I'm guessing most people in a prison, a lot of them don't have the best attitude and have other issues that they're worried about as opposed to their voting rights.
Well, that's just the same prison that my mother used to be in. And so that's
Oh,
why it took so long. Yeah, that's why it took so long to get her security clearance, is because she used to be there. So she knew the corrections, like some of the guards there, she knew them. And she knew some of the women who were still there. Well, they weren't there when she was there. They've still been like in and out.
oh,
And so
okay.
she's seen some people that she knew. Uh, I think it was a good thing that we went together because it was some stuff that I didn't know until she said it. But my mother is like one of three moods. She cool, she chill, and she ready to fight. Those are her three moods right there. But one of the women there who knew my mother from the streets, they were just telling her, "Oh, Lynn, you must be so happy. You got your daughter here with you. You guys are doing this, this, and this." And she got really like upset. And she was just like fighting the tears. And I don't see my mother like that, like ever.
Right,
And she was saying out of her sons, and my youngest brother, he is like on meth. He's a hardcore drug addict. And
right.
she's like, I haven't seen him in like a couple of years now. She was like, I don't worry about any of my children more than I worry about her. And it's not because she's the only girl. It's because I guess in her mind, I just go off half cocked and do stuff and don't worry about my own safety. And with my grandmother, before she went to hospice, we knew she was passing away, and one of
Mhm.
the things that she said was she would see me before she saw her children, and everybody took that as like I was going to go before my mother and my TTs did, and so I didn't know she was holding on to that like that, but I guess the stuff that I do, the places I go, the people that I talk to, in her mind, it's always like triggering her. She's like, you could be, helping a woman and maybe their boyfriend or husband or church or somebody is going to get upset and you're going to be caught in the middle of that. And I didn't know stuff like that kept her up like at night. But
I
I'm glad that I know it now. And I still don't know how to deal with it because is it going to stop me from doing what I'm doing? No. But I do think I could be more careful when I'm thinking about the people who do care about me. So
well, I
I
believe
think I'll have to think about that more.
I believe fear kind of attracts trouble, and I don't think you have much fear, and I think you probably have some guardian angels around you. You almost have to go through the things you've gone through and do the things you do and still have this rational, calm personality. There's something definitely different about you, Old Soul. People don't react the way you do after being through the things you've been through.
No, like my grandmother always told us, she's like, living is hard, dying is easy,
Yeah,
dying is easy, living is hard. Like she would always say that.
I
And so
agree
it
with
just
her.
kind of put in my mind that that's not something to be afraid of. And then I think even when she said that, for me, it was just kind of like, well, if I'm here for a limited time anyway, I need to make my mark and do what I need to do while I'm here.
Right.
But for the people around me who care about me, they see that differently.
They
And I have to
worry
be
about
more
you.
conscious of that. Yeah.
They worry
And
about you.
I didn't think she worried the way she did until I seen her getting upset about that. Like she could barely talk about it. But
You know,
other than that, we had a good time.
I can relate to that. I mean, if you are righteous in what you do and what you say and how you act, you don't worry about the fearful things. I mean, I get people all the time saying, "Aren't you worried that some Trump fuck's going to come up and give you a hard time?" And I don't even think about that. No, I don't, because my personality isn't one where I'm an easy mark, and you aren't an easy mark. Um, so, well, your mom went back to the prison she was in. Did that pose any problems? I mean, if I was in prison for a time and I get out, I'm never going back there. And even though she was just going to visit, did she have any stress going back into this place she was locked down?
She was kind of like in between this weird space of being like nervous, but like a little bit like anxious and excited about it. Um, but the women there that she did know from the streets, the ones who still running in and out, and even like some of the guards that were there that told her, "Okay, Lynn, we'll see you. You'll be back."
All right.
Um, I think for her it was kind of like a sense of pride to just kind of like go back and show them, like, I did it. I made it.
All
So
right. Yeah.
I
No, I
think,
get that.
yeah, that first day she was a little nervous, but the second and the third day, she was cool.
You went there
She
three
was my little
days?
helper.
You were there three
Yeah,
days? Wow.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
surprisingly, it was more with the men's prison. I did 2 days, but with
Uh,
the women, like so many of them wanted to do it, and then they were really anxious to talk about um, like women's rights and what we're going through on the outside. And they just, a lot of them had no idea that they could request a mail in ballot. Like they just did not know that.
right.
And they were really anxious to hear about it, to see how it worked, how they got their ballots, what they needed to do, and all that other kind of stuff. So I think we'll see a lot of the women out here that's doing it. That kind of pissed me off in that email that I sent you when I was saying how my state is being sued for the mail-in ballots now.
Right.
And so that was kind of a part of what pissed me off the most. And my daughter's boyfriend, Zachary, he's like, that's what you get. You shouldn't be telling everybody you got these inmates voting. But it's not Nevada. I've since found out that they have lawsuits against all of the swing states.
Yeah.
It's just that we were the first state and Mississippi. And if you watch or you could I read Democracy Docket, but he also does segments with BTC on YouTube. And everybody was confused, like, why are they suing Mississippi? So what they are doing is they sue Mississippi. Mississippi puts it through really quickly that we're not going to count mail-in ballots
Right.
for all of these different situations. And then they use that Mississippi ruling as presidents when they go to argue in front of the Supreme Court and stuff
Right.
like that. So
Right.
that's the reason that they're doing it with Mississippi,
It,
because they already know Mississippi is going to rule in their favor. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll take that to set the precedents. And then when our state, and I'm pretty sure other swing states, reject them and they appeal it and they take it to the Supreme Court, it gives the Supreme Court a ruling to look at and say, oh, yeah, they set the precedent. So now you
right.
guys can't do mail in ballots under all of these other circumstances. I'm just hoping that the swing states, especially where I'm at, that we just do the Republican tactic, just take forever to make it work its way through the courts. And
Right.
then by that time, it'll be after the election. So we'll
Right.
see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, we've got a lot to talk about as far as what's going on. It's been a while since we've talked, but we do have to update people about, you mentioned the wild child. And for those that don't remember, you may or may not know that Old Soul does a lot of things, but she takes in women, young women from other states where abortion is illegal, who needs reproductive health care, and they get to stay with her for usually a short period of time. This wild child girl was an interesting case, though. She came from kind of a fucked up family, a highly religious mom and a crazy dad. Um, she came up and there were some problems, and she ended up staying with you quite a while. And she
Hmm.
sounds like she kind of bonded with you and your daughter and the whole scenario. She must have loved the situation because it was so different than what she came from. But the time came and she had to go back. She went back with her grandmother in Arizona, which isn't that far from where you are. But
Nope, 4 hours away.
how was that experience bringing her to Arizona? Because I know
Um,
you're an emotional woman, and you probably had a connection to her as hard as she was to deal with sometimes. How was that exchange?
it was sad. It was hard. Like it was hard to take her there, and it was hard to leave her there too. It was hard. We asked her for her going away party, what she wanted to do. I thought she was gonna say something like a pool party or something with normal
Oh,
teenagers would want to do. She wanted a paintball party, and I they were telling us how to dress for the party. You have to wear like long sleeves and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's hot outside. I'm already gonna be icky and sweating. I'm not wearing a long sleeve shirt. I'm not doing that. So I didn't realize that you really get bruised up. It's like I have bruises all over my arm, my chest, my back, my everywhere.
wow,
Um, but it was fun. The friends that she made out here, that was they all came, they all showed support. They're only like 4 hours away, so it's not like they'll never see each other again.
right.
She got a job at KFC out there because one of her cousins worked there. So she has a job already. And she was thinking about going to the Air Force, but she's not sure yet. So she's trying to plan for the future and keep herself busy so she can keep herself out of trouble.
Right.
So
So a
she's gonna be all
success
right.
story. So a success story. That's good to hear. Have you heard from
Yeah,
her since she's been down there? Is she texting
every
you and
day,
calling every day? I thought so.
every day, every single day. She told me that she's like she lives like a peasant now. It's just a joke that she says because I don't buy lunch meat because it's expensive.
Right.
So I will buy a turkey, a ham, and like a pork shoulder or something, and then I'll just throw it in the oven, slow cook it, and then I'll carve it up, and that's lunch meat because it's cheaper, it lasts longer, and that's what my grandmother did. And
Right.
so she was like, "I'm out here eating packaged lunch meat," but I talk to her every day. She texts me, she called me, she want to FaceTime me. Anytime I'm like around my family, she's like, "Oh, put me on FaceTime, put me on FaceTime." So yeah,
Well, don't worry about it because that will probably only last forever until she's old and you're old and you made a connection. You did some good as you always do. And let's hope this girl's
yeah,
on the right track now and be better off than she was when you found her. It sounds
yeah,
like she already is.
yeah. I did a Zoom court with her because her dad had court and they had the Zoom court, and so I did that with her. So we just kind of watched him. He has to
Yeah.
come back because he wants it to go to trial and all this other kind of stuff. So
Wow.
um, it's not that she doesn't care about them because she still looks at their social media pages. She was on her dad's Zoom court and stuff. So it's not that she just doesn't care about them because she does because she still watches what they do.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what that dynamic is like. It's got to be strange. I just support her. If she want to watch it, I'll watch it with her.
Do
If
you
she
have
gets upset about something they post, I'm there to talk to her about it.
another woman staying with you now? Do you have another client, if you will?
Hmm.
How's that going?
It sucks.
Oh,
It sucks. It
spill
sucks.
the tea, as they say.
She she's in one of these religious, I call them high control religious groups because I don't want to say every certain type of church is the same, but the way that some of these churches are is kind of like you belong to your father until you meet your husband,
Right.
but you can't choose your husband without your father. Anyway, so he comes from a good family. He seems like a good guy, but he's not. And so when she told him she was pregnant, he was just like, "Yeah, you need to figure that out."
Wow.
And she's here. Yeah. And he's supposed to be this upstanding person in the church and all that other kind of stuff. So
Who's
I did
who's
tell her it's her choice, but she's just doing what he says.
well, he's no doubt against this uh, abortion, but he's okay for it if it involves him, like we typically see the hypocrisy of it all.
He's against it at church. He's
Yeah, of
against it
course.
in front of their family. Um, but when it comes to her, that's not what his head at right now. He's focused on other women, shall I say. And
Yeah.
he did let her know when he's ready to like settle down. At that time, they'll be able to build a family. But he didn't give her any money or anything to help her get out here. So he pretty much told her to figure it out. And this is how she's figuring it out.
Wow. Just since we're here and talking about this and this type of person, I'm assuming you saw the news coverage of this kicker from Kansas City, this Butker clown giving a commencement speech, talking to all these women that gained a degree, and he explained to them their real job is to being a housewife and a mother and all that sort of stuff. Do you have a
Yeah.
reaction to that whole situation? I mean, it um, sounds like the kind of guy who is the father in a lot of the women you end up seeing. They're highly religious unless it affects them.
Yeah. Um, I've been swearing for like 3 days now, and I'm trying to stop. Like,
Go
I don't
ahead,
know
go
if it's
through.
just because I'm missing sleep or what, but it's so predatory. Some of these churches, some of the churches, women are not supposed to be, or they're not allowed to be like leaders.
Right.
And some churches, in particular, from the women that come here, that's a part of the Mormon faith. They
Mm-hmm.
have like church service, where like anybody can go. You and I can just walk up in there and go to church. But after that service, the men go to one part of the church and the women go to the other part of the church. This is just my understanding, where they teach the men how to be, I guess, like the leaders, providers, like the alpha male type crap. And then they're telling the women and the children and the girls that they're supposed to just not go to school. They're not supposed to like have friends outside of the faith. They're supposed to be loyal to their husband. They do the whole abstinence thing. You need to be barefoot and pregnant and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
And it's so sad because if you're a young girl and you grow up in that church and that's all you know and that's all you see, you don't know any better. You think that's what the world is. You think that's how everybody is. And a lot of these girls, they're homeschooled, so they don't have access to like other children to know that that's not how it is.
Right. Well,
I don't think that those men believe that. I think they weaponize religion to keep the girls and the women in check.
yeah.
That's just what they do.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and like I was telling you before we went on, I get the sense with these radical right religious groups, the Republicans in general, the way they're marginalizing women, taking away rights from women, want to go back for 50, 60 years where women were second class citizens and all that stuff. To me, it seems like they see the writing on the wall that come this election and every other election after that, their time is short. Their time is done because young people aren't going to buy into that attitude. It's boomers and people who are older and some Gen X folks that buy this stuff. But that's their grasp on what they have now is starting to slip. And I think they know that. So they're just flailing and trying to do anything and everything. I mean, everything they're doing with abortion makes no sense because it all works against them. But they seem like they're in desperate straits now, and they'll just do anything to try to gain purchase and hold on. And all that tells us is that between now and November, it's going to get even crazier.
Yeah, I think that they have a certain complacency with their ability to I guess brainwash is the best word that I can think about it.
Yeah.
Like they are so confident that they have that much control over their base or their voters, especially when you see that they can just lie about anything. And then if
Yeah.
these people just take it, they don't fact check it or anything. Um, so I think that they don't realize how impactful this is. I've always been like the women who stay here when I talk to their families, even when I'm talking to people in public, you can wear red, vote blue, because this affects you too. And
Right.
I've been telling the guys, especially the young ones, that they think contraceptive is that's just a women's thing, right? No, contraceptives means that they are also banning condoms. And then I'm telling them you need to look at this legislation that they're pumping through now that's called fetal support, which is basically if you get a girl pregnant, you're paying child support from the day she finds out she's pregnant.
Right.
And they're not pumping that out there like that. I wish that they would do that because I think that that would make some of the men think twice. It's kind of like it's okay when you're infringing on a woman's right. But then
Right.
when you sit here and try to tell me I can't wear a condom, you sit here and tell me that I have to have a baby. I think that'll make some of these younger guys, even those ones who claim they're alpha males, look at it differently. So, as sad as it is that they won't do it because their moms, their sisters, their daughters, or anything, just tell them to, it's going to affect you too. And I think some of these people are selfish enough that it'll make them pause and be like, well, wait a minute, you coming for my rights too? I can't do that. So I think
Right.
that could change people too. I don't know why people are not telling them that. They think it's just women, but they want to control women first, and then they just branch out from there. And another thing that they're missing is when you are in a theocracy or if you have a dictator, anything like that, there's a hierarchy. There's a whole totem pole, and you're going to be on the bottom of that totem pole.
Right.
So
Right.
what they do is they use you to take away rights from people, from minorities, from the LGBTQ, from women, from Black folks, from Hispanic people. They use you to help take those rights away. And once you help them get there, then they could just scoot your butt on down to the bottom of the totem pole too, because they only want people with money, like people within that inner circle. Those are the only people that they want to have something. And I think that's the part that some of the I'm trying to, I almost said something. I was called them trailer park Republican men, but I know
Well,
they're not all from the trailer park, but a lot of the like blue collar worker Republican men, they are missing that aspect for it. Once you help them get to where they need to be, you are no longer useful to them at all.
I
And
think
this
that
party knows loyalty to nobody.
I
They
think
need to see that.
I think the technical term for those men are stupid redneck motherfuckers. I think that's the technical term for that. So we'll make note of that and use that in the future.
That's one way
But
of putting it.
that's one way of putting it. Yeah. Now, and I need to mention too, when Old Soul got on before we started recording, she said she hadn't slept in about 50 hours. And I give her a lot of credit for even showing up. 50 hours without sleep. You could be a little loopy, but you seem very cognizant. You seem very focused and able to handle it, but you need to get some sleep. I know you got some medication to put you to sleep right after we get done doing this, and I would recommend you do that because you need your sleep. You're not old like me, but you're getting up in
I
that
have my
range.
game face on.
You have your game face on. You look good. Everything's running smoothly. You mentioned something before we got on, and you were talking about that Louisiana situation where they're dealing with what they call the abortion drugs like mifepristone and some others. They're doing some pretty fucked up shit there in Louisiana.
Yeah, they are a C2 drug, um, which is basically a controlled substance, which would be an opioid, a oxy, a roxy, strong painkillers. Um, that's what the the abortion pill is.
Right.
Um, they were finding out that because they put these bans on women, that they were still finding ways around it with certain organizations sending them those medications in the mail, especially when, they couldn't access a doctor or whatever. So part of it was a lot of these places are like OBGYN deserts at this point. The
Right.
doctors have fled, hospitals is not seeing them. So they would find out they're pregnant, and they can do just a virtual consult with an OB on the, over the phone, and then they would write them a prescription, and then the women would get the prescription. So then they banned that. But so now they would write a prescription and have it sent to like my address or something. And then I would just put it in a discreet envelope, send it to the women, and they would do what they need to do. Um, so since they found out that that was going on behind the scenes, now they're looking at it as a narcotic. And if you get caught sending it, receiving it, anything like that, you're going to get the same charges as if you would have sent somebody crack or meth in the mail. You get those
Wow.
same charges, felony charges.
That's pretty draconian. And it's not a narcotic. They're just treating
No,
it
it's
like
not.
a narcotic. Um, these people are really going over the top in trying to control women and trying to deal with this abortion thing. When the
But that
2020,
whole, that whole 6 week ban thing,
yeah,
to them, that is too lenient.
right,
So they know within that 6 week time frame, if you find out you're pregnant, you can get access to medication and you can be good. So a lot of them go around saying a 6 week ban, a 6 week ban, a 6 week ban. But then the medication that can help you get your abortion within that 6 week time frame, they've outlawed it, or
right,
they've turned it into a controlled to narcotic. So now women can't get it. So even though they are saying there is a 6 week ban, there is no 6 week ban if you can't get the medication that you need. That's a full blown ban.
right.
So I think a lot of these women in these red states, they need to stop saying 6 weeks, 15 weeks, whatever, because they're going to give you a number of weeks, but they're going to do everything that they can to make sure you can't get the help that you need within the weeks that they told you can get it done in. Okay, I'll give you 6 weeks, but technically I'm not giving you 6 weeks. That's what they're doing.
The thing
And yeah, it is now behind the scenes, there's some other states that's right behind them.
the thing about it is that when the Democrats win the House and the Senate, I'm convinced that that's what'll happen. They'll want to codify Roe v. Wade. But what people
Yeah,
don't understand is the damage that has been done to this point, to women, to states, to cities, to counties. It's going to take a long time to come back from that. And you're going to have to fight in each state to get rid of these laws. Codifying Roe v. Wade is a federal thing, and it will cover the states' rights too. But we've seen states ignore the Supreme Court and do whatever the fuck they want. There's going to have to be a lot of time spent in rectifying this whole issue with abortion rights. Codifying it isn't going to fix it instantaneously. What they've done is dug a deep hole and caused some immense damage, and it's affected obviously mostly women, and that's not that you can never fix the damage physically that it's done to women already, and it's
no,
quite a lot.
the trauma, the forced sterilization on some of these women, like these are things that women have to live with forever. It doesn't just go away. And I understand, like I'm hearing them, especially Donald Trump, talking about a states' right thing, a states' rights issue, when they say that, but their actions is something different. Because if it's a states' right issue where you can do whatever you want in your state, we're just not going to do it in our state. Then why do you have a ban on travel for women in your states?
Right.
Why do you need to try to obtain women's medical records in other states? Like the doctors that work with like my organization all the time, subpoenas and this and that, where they're trying to get access to these women's records. They know about organizations that's helping women, and so they're doing everything that they can to prevent women from getting help in other states. So technically, you are leaving your own state and your jurisdiction, trying to tell other people what to do in their states because somehow it affects you. It's so
Yeah.
weird. So they're saying states' rights, but they don't mean it. They don't mean states' rights at all.
Well,
Do not listen to them when they say that. It's a lie, a
the,
flat
the,
out lie.
the interesting thing is Donald Trump is such an idiot. He's embraced overturning Roe v. Wade, which is the worst possible thing he can do. It's going to work against him. It's going to be one of the main reasons he loses in November if he is the nominee. And then I think a Texas newsman asked him if he would be for banning contraceptives. Now, I'm convinced Donald Trump had no clue what he was saying or he wasn't listening because he says, oh, yeah, we're thinking about that. We're looking at that. We've got some real good ideas, some smart ideas. We'll be coming out with that shortly, which is a bullshit line that Donald Trump said about everything from infrastructure
Hmm.
to abortion. So then it comes out he gets backlash because it sounds like he's for banning contraceptives. He had no idea that he was going to get backlash over that. I know that he would have, but he didn't. And then immediately when he starts getting the backlash, he goes to Truth Social and says, I would never ban contraceptives. But here's what you need to understand. What if Donald Trump somehow magically became president of the United States? Donald Trump doesn't do anything. What Donald Trump does is give power to Republicans in Congress who will do that shit. And that's what people
Yeah.
have to understand.
It's not just it's not just Republicans.
No, you're
This
right
is the
about that.
type, yeah, this is the type of Republican that it is. You are looking at people like Jim Jordan with high titles or high status within the White House.
Right,
You are looking at Steve Bannon. You are looking at some of the lowest of the low crawlers. These are the scummiest people of the earth. These are people who've already grifted these people.
right,
People who flocked Steve Bannon, they give him money, millions, buku dollars, millions and millions of dollars after he stole from them that whole build the wall thing. And he was just taking these people money, going on cruises and doing all this other kind of stuff.
right,
This is the person that they are putting in charge. These are the people who saying, oh, you know what, that 50,000 jobs that Biden brought to your district, yeah, we're going to close down all those plants because Biden did it and we don't like nothing that he does.
right, right.
So it's beyond voting against your own best interest. This is way beyond that. It's so far beyond that. These are people who don't believe in rights for anybody. They are so greedy. I can't remember who it was that sent you an email, and they were saying about the reason that Donald Trump's casinos failed is because he was like robbing it blind, just taking money
Right,
any and everywhere from where he could. That's going
right,
to be America. That's going to be your social security, your retirement, your pension, your 401k. They are going to take everything. And when you are desperate and you are destitute, you have absolutely no problem working $5 an hour for 80 hours a week,
right,
that
right.
type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That's what I've said about these rich bastards is that they don't want a lot of money. They want all the money. And they won't be
Right.
happy until they do have all the money. That's why they have to be stopped
Mm-hmm.
now. It's funny how I see the desperation in the Republicans, particularly Donald Trump. They see some little opening and then they exaggerate it, they explode it, and they start talking some shit. You've no doubt heard this recent narrative that they're trying to put across is that Joe Biden and the Democrats are trying to assassinate Donald Trump. If anybody was trying to do that, it would have been already done. But the where they come up with this is two things. First of all, the reason they were suggesting that is because um, Representative Thompson, I said Clyburn once, it's Thompson, is putting up a bill suggesting that if you are a former president and you're convicted of a felony, you lose Secret Service protection. And that kind of makes sense. Why are we protecting a convicted felon, regardless if he was former president or not?
Why
So
are we
that,
protecting a traitor?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that was part of it. And then when they find something like that, then they're trying to dig around all these other places to find things that in their mind supports their premise, even though it's absolutely crazy. So they were looking at the recently when Judge Cannon released some documents that had been sealed. They released the search warrant. And in the search warrant, down in the bottom, it's a standard boilerplate thing. It said something about the ability to use lethal force. Now, that's a standard line in every search warrant. It was in the search warrants served to Mike Pence, and Joe Biden as well. But they're suggesting that Joe Biden sent these people in to kill Donald Trump with this search warrant, which was ridiculous, which is exaggerated and absolute bullshit. But they know this is going to trigger their base and get them upset. Oh, they're trying to kill him now. But this is what Donald Trump and the Republicans do. They take little teeny things that mean nothing and they expand on them in order to generate fear because everything they do is about fear. That's how they motivate their base. And doing that just shows to the extent of desperation they're at right now because that's absolutely crazy. It can be fact checked instantaneously, but they will still go to it because, frankly, they've got nothing else. They are desperate at this point.
That and the people they're talking to,
Yeah.
they just want a reason.
Yeah.
They just want
That's
a
true.
reason to be pissed off and create violence. I have I have to say this first because I was watching that on the news and they were talking about, oh, it said this on a piece of paper and all this other kind of stuff. First of all, they coordinated with the Secret Service to make sure Donald Trump's
Right.
thinking, but wasn't at Mar-a-Lago when they came and served a search warrant. That's not a raid. Where I'm
No.
from, I know what a raid is. Do you know what it's like when they kick your front door in? And when they kick your front door in, they're not paying to put it back up, whether they find something in there or not. When your grandmother is on the floor with her face in the ground, handcuffed behind her back, and they talking about, oh, they touched Melania's lingerie. It's insane that these people think that Joe Biden wanted to sneak and kill Donald Trump. That's just, it's so idiotic and it's so stupid. It's just beyond stupid. For them to think that, first of all, and they keep saying it's a raid. It wasn't a raid. It was a search warrant. The man wasn't even there. But I guess somehow that's unfair to him. When I've grown up seeing kicked in doors, I've grown up with people's children traumatized because the FBI had them sitting in the corner with their mom on their back, handcuffed up, because the baby daddy used to stay there. Something crazy like that.
Right.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing is too, it's such a hypocrite because you are in the Supreme Court saying that a president, and even Trump, he's like, it's not just me. I mean, any president, even Joe Biden, you need absolute immunity so that when you leave office, you won't be targeted. However, if he does or say something that they don't like, then they come around. He needs to be prosecuted. He needs to be kicked out of office. He needs to be 25th Amendment, whatever other crap they out there saying.
You know what the ironic thing about this is when he was in court and they were talking about the immunity with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court justice said, "So you're saying that it would be an official act by a president if they killed their political opponent?" And he says, "In some cases." He said, "Yes." He said, "Yes." So if what they are saying is true and they give him immunity, then Joe Biden has every right to go out and have that fucker killed. And they got nothing to say about it. But see, that's how they are. They don't think beyond the end of their noses, so they think it only applies to them. But the sad thing is, you get a crazy Democratic president, you're going to get some killed Republicans if they've got free reign to do it.
I think it's more, they will gaslight and spin to no end. Like I'm surprised that the argument hasn't been SEAL Team 6 is a part of the military. That's different. We're talking about the FBI. I'm surprised that that's not the argument because that's how they gaslight. But you know who I blame for all of this? I blame Merrick Garland. I blame him.
I do too.
You took office and you thought that you could play coy with somebody who tried to overturn our government. You thought you could play coy with somebody who was stealing mailboxes so people couldn't vote. You tried to play coy with somebody who tried to have his own vice president assassinated. You tried to play coy with somebody who has people from another country who are enemies of America, and he has our secrets in his place, and he has traitors just trouncing in and up out of there. The Saudi Arabians, they'd have paid him, they'd have paid his son-in-law, and they just in there with all the documents all out in the open. And you
Yeah.
thought that these are the type of people that you could be rational with. You knew Clarence Thomas's wife, her butt was in on the January 6th stuff. You knew half of the Republican Party in Congress, they were also in on the January 6th stuff. And instead of taking day one and saying, we're not going to tolerate none of this shit in America, we're just not going to do that. All y'all get to go to jail.
Yeah.
That's what he should have done. You're trying to play politics and play coy with people as if they got sense. These people don't have no sense. They
That's
don't
it.
care.
That's the
And
ironic.
now when he's sitting here, I seen this little press conference, I almost threw something at the television.
That's the
Because
ironic
now he
thing.
want to take a backbone 3 years later. No, it don't work like that. Because when you don't hold them accountable off rip, they are emboldened to keep doing this crap. They just keep doing it and pushing and pushing and pushing. When he should have just took office from day one and just shut it down. But
That's it.
now
That's the
we have to
ironic
sit
thing.
there and fight this battle for him. I don't
That's
think so.
that's the ironic
Mm-mm.
thing about Merrick Garland is he was trying to do everything he can to look non-political, but by being non-political, he was being very fucking political. I think Merrick Garland is a smart man. He's a good legal mind. He might have been a good Supreme Court justice, but as an attorney general, as much as I thought he would do a good job, he has not. He has failed. He's put this country in a catastrophic situation because he should have acted immediately instead of waiting 2 years because he's afraid to offend somebody. You can't make those kinds of mistakes and keep your job. It's too risky for this country. And he put this country at risk and he needs to be held accountable for it. I mean, you can't put him in jail or anything, but you could fire his ass. And after the election, that's what Joe Biden needs to do. They need to get rid of him and get somebody who understands the fucking job.
Facts are not political. The
No,
facts are the facts. Did you try to overturn the government? Yes, that's a fact. Were you complicit in this? Yes, then that's a fact. There's no way to say, okay, well, we want to wait until after the election. We want to try to negotiate with Trump to see if he can give me back my stuff. I don't
right,
think so. I'm coming over there and I'm taking my stuff. What you gonna do about it? Because
right,
the Secret Service is up under me. So how is that gonna work?
right,
That's what he should have done. But what it did is it just exposed, not that our judicial system doesn't have teeth or that it can't work. It's just that we do not wield it towards people in positions of power.
right,
Like if I sat back and I thought about like Glenn Kirshner being the AG, I already know it wouldn't be like this. And I feel so angry because I feel like he chose Trump and his feelings and decorum and all this other crap over democracy,
right,
over our future, over our rights, over our country. All of that needs to go to the wayside because we don't want to make Trump and his little homies feel like we targeted them.
right, right.
I'm
And
seeing Republicans are being Republicans and they doing Republican stuff, but the Republicans don't do anything that they are not allowed to do. When the judge told Trump, you do this mess again, you going to jail. He
right,
shut his mouth. He got his
right,
little homies to do it like, hey, if y'all get in trouble for that, that's on y'all. But he shut his mouth, which shows you that you can shut the whole show down if you wanted to. What
right.
he lacks was the want to do that. I don't understand how anybody could sit there and try to negotiate with a snake like Trump or with Giuliani or with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't even know how you sit there and hold a conversation with any of them without wanting to put your hand on their throat. I
When I
really do feel like I just take a lot of the blame and I put it with him and the justice system. I even look at what's going on with Eileen Cannon, and for whatever reason, don't nobody want to just put her in her place. It's just like the power that they have. And I know they have this power. I've seen them use this power against people. But somehow, when it comes to Trump and all this other stuff, it's like, okay, well, wait, let's just make sure we play it fair. Let's just shoot straight. No, we don't do that. More angry with him than Republicans because they don't really surprise me. It's just the people who are supposed to protect us, they're not doing it.
yeah, the way you can look at Merrick Garland is kind of like the NFL. You see this quarterback in the draft. He has all the pedigree. He has all the things going for him. And you draft him number one in the draft. And you're thinking, okay, we're going to be going good because this guy's a great college quarterback. But when he gets there, he's a fucking bust. And that's what Merrick Garland is. He is a bust. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of what's going on with Trump and all this stuff. We're going to take a quick break, but I want to talk about the trial that's about to wrap up this coming week, and I want to talk about how it might affect all the other trials that are going on. I don't know that people are looking at it the way I'm looking at it. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're back on the Rational Boomer podcast. With us today, Old Soul. Always a great pleasure to have Old Soul with us. Now, the big news of last week and the big news of this coming week is the trial that Donald Trump has been in. Now, through this trial, you will hear the media and other people say, oh my God, this happened. The prosecution's in trouble. I'm just going to say this. If you paid attention to everything that went on in this trial, very little, if any good, came for the defense. This was an excellent trial by the prosecution. They fucking nailed it down. And even though after the Michael Cohen thing and they thought they got him because they said he lied, no shit, he's a fucking liar. We knew that before he went on the stand. But then they put up this Robert Costello guy. Absolute disaster. Whatever they gained with Michael Cohen, they lost with Robert Costello. And a lot of people are saying, why would they put Robert Costello up? No intelligent lawyer would do that. But I know what happened. I'm almost certain I know what happened. Donald Trump told them to put him up so they could crucify Michael Cohen. But Donald Trump's not a real good legal mind. He's just about attack, attack, attack with no basis for his attacks. And he miscalculated. It went wrong, much like the lawyers probably expected it to. I mean, the prosecution revealed that while this guy was trying to be Michael Cohen's lawyer, he never was Michael Cohen's lawyer. And Michael Cohen said something seemed fishy about it. It's like he was working with Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump, kind of like the Hope Hicks lawyer before she fired them. And so the defense knew that there were emails that the prosecution had that proved that. They knew that was coming, but they still put him up on the stand. It tells me first, they don't have anything, so they took a risk. Secondly, Donald Trump probably forced him to do it, and Donald Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. But here we are. We're going to come into the summations come Tuesday, and this does not look good for Donald Trump. I don't care what anybody says. There is nothing good for the defense out of this.
Donald Trump doesn't really turn out well when he tries to set somebody up.
No.
And that's all that it was. It was a setup. I can just see in my head Donald Trump and Castillo having this conversation, like, okay, you're gonna go on the stand, because Donald Trump knew he wasn't gonna take the stand. Let's just get that out the way. So they came up to an agreement of what he was gonna say when he was on the stand, and that setup blew up in their face. For one, I don't know why they would the attorneys, I'm pretty sure didn't want to put him up there, because doing 404 and discovery, like, people think you just go to trial and you just show up with all your evidence. No, there's a whole process before trial. 404 discovery, what's allowed in, what's not, what's admissible, what's not, even what questions you can ask Donald Trump when he's on the stand.
Right.
So we're not bringing up prior bad acts that has nothing to do with this current case, right? They had the emails during the discovery process. They knew all of this stuff beforehand, and that's why the attorneys didn't want him to put him on a stand, because they're saying, hey, these emails, they don't come up if Castillo don't take the stand. If you put him on the stand, then they are allowed to bring the emails up, especially when they're trying to impeach the witness. I know that, and I'm not even an attorney. And Donald Trump, like, yeah, put him up there. Let all the emails come out. Let all the voicemails, like, just let it all come out, because he is going to say what I want him to say.
Right.
What he didn't calculate was that the prosecutor was not going to allow him to just sit up there and spew Donald Trump's nonsense without saying objection, anything. He thought that the prosecution was just going to sit there and let him have a Trump mini session on the stands. I don't know why Donald Trump, in his mind, thought that the man that he calls an animal, the man that he calls savage, a man that he calls all these names, is just going to sit there like a little meek, quiet housewife and let this man go up there and dispute him lies.
Yeah.
Why did he think that was going to happen?
Well,
I don't even know. Like, to me,
it's
I
because
can't even say
it's because
stupid.
he
That's kind of like incompetent at that. Like, you can't be thinking with a straight mind for them to say, if you put this man on the stand, all of this evidence comes in. If you keep him off the stand, none of this evidence comes in.
but
Like,
you got
you
to
have to be really incompetent to say put him on the stand.
you
I
got
don't get
you
that.
got you got to understand that Donald Trump is not a thinker, and he only has one strategy in life, and that's being a bully. The only thing he knows is come at them strong, and then they'll give up. Be a bully, come at them strong. So that's the only thing he knows. That's what he wants his lawyers to do, to attack, attack, attack. Fortunately, Judge Marchand isn't buying that shit. This Costello guy tried to play the tough guy, and Marchand put him in his place quick. And so Donald Trump thought that was going to work, but it never works for Donald Trump. You'd think he'd learn a lesson. I think there was one lesson learned here, though. I think he was going to testify because that's just Donald Trump and the lawyers can't control him. But I think once Costello got up there and Donald Trump had to realize in his head that, oh, I fucked up. And he saw what happened to Costello, he's a coward. So he doesn't want to put himself in that same situation.
When I looked at this case, if it was anybody other than Trump, I would have said this is the defense's case to win. It
Right,
is, because any normal person, if you're going through the 404 process, right? And Stormy Daniels, she doesn't take the stand unless your attorneys say they never had an affair.
right,
So now the DA has to put her on the stand to prove the affair.
right.
Or if Trump or any normal defendant, allowing their lawyers to speak for them, would have said, yeah, he had an affair with her, but what does that have to do with bookkeepings? She didn't work at my company. She wasn't a bookkeeper. She didn't know where money went. How is she relevant to this case? He had
Right.
an affair with her, but that don't have nothing to do with this. And the judge would have said, what does she have to do with this case? The DA couldn't tie her to this case, so she would have never taken the stand. Like, this
She,
was his case to win if he would have just said, yeah, Michael Cohen, he was my attorney, but I really didn't know what he was doing. But you can say that, but you don't have the National Enquirer backing him up. You don't have Stormy Daniels on it. Like, all of this stuff that was allowed in, it was allowed in because Donald Trump couldn't admit that he had catch and kill schemes, that he
right.
couldn't admit that he had an affair with this woman when the whole world knew it. So why are you lying about stuff that we already know? This was his case to win. He lost it for himself. If he would have just let his attorneys do their job, there's no way he would have lost his case. But he couldn't do it, and he just kept stacking and stacking and stacking against himself. I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm laughing because it's so stupid.
well, the thing about it is that this
So
trial
stupid.
this trial is a microcosm of the last 8 years when he was president, after he wasn't president. Donald Trump,
You know how stupid that is?
well, it's not even just that, old soul. The thing is, he wouldn't be in as much trouble as he is now with
Yeah,
everything if he just knew how to shut up.
facts.
If he just walked away on January 20th, 2021, went off
Yeah,
and did his own shit, he would not be in this trouble now. Not as much anyway. But this
duh. And it was
motherfucker
just as
cannot
simple as
help it.
it was just as simple as, oh, you know what? My A took them documents, but y'all can come get them.
Yeah.
A, like, this is my brain, and I'm not even a criminal. I took them documents and I made I don't know how many copies of it. You know what I mean? I
Right.
got copiers going off like copiers is breaking down. I'm making so many copies of these documents, right? Oh yeah,
Right.
y'all can come get these original documents. They don't have to know that I made copies. Why didn't he just make the copies and get these people their stuff back? Why are you holding on to documents when you can make copies? You know what? You don't even got to make copies. You can actually take pictures now. I don't, I don't understand why he couldn't just like have the information and give them back their stuff. It feels like idiot isn't like I've never seen a criminal that can't get away with like criminal activity. I don't know. It's just like he fails at everything. I think the only thing that he excels at is being a bigot, a hateful, vile person. He's really good at that. Everything else,
You have to
I don't get
understand.
it.
You have to understand what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is not a smart man. He's not a politician. He's not a businessman. He is little more than a spoiled, entitled brat child. He
Yeah,
really is thinking at that level. He's always gotten his way. He thinks he's entitled to always getting his way. Unfortunately, he stepped into an arena that was above his head. He always could control things because everybody worked for him or needed him for his money. But once he got into government and the presidency, he didn't understand that there are things bigger than him, things that he can't overcome. And he's still trying to prove that he can. And every time he does, he fails miserably. Now
yeah.
they're going to have the closing arguments on Tuesday. That should take up a good part of the day. Then they're going to have the jury directions by the judge. That should take about an hour. Then the jury's going to get the case. There's 34 felony charges. I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. I know he will have multiple felony convictions. And I'm looking at this because it's documents and they're all kind of connected one way or another. I'm thinking he may get convicted of all 34. What are your thoughts about what you know of the case right now and as the jury gets to deliberate on this, how do you think it's going to come out? Because you've had some pretty good luck coming up with prognostication.
I think he lost his case. And I'm not even worried. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a juror who supports Trump and has True Social app. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's on True Social. I think that he would convict Trump because
I do too.
there's been other MAGAs um, in um, in Georgia that was a part of the grand jury, and
Mm-hmm.
they still came back with an indictment because the evidence is the evidence. The reason that he was allowed, I think, to stay on the jury is because he said, yes, even though I voted for Trump, even though I have Truth Social, I can still be biased and do the right thing. Now, that's
Right.
the jury that they don't like to talk about on Fox News, right?
Right.
And I think that with the DA, they were like, our case is so strong because he is so stupid that even this guy is going to do the right thing. And I think that gives them a talking point that it's not all liberals on this jury,
Right.
even though the people who watch Fox and listen to Trump, they do think that this is nothing but a bunch of black liberals on the jury, and don't none of them like Trump, and that's
Right.
just not the case. I think
Well,
he's going to be convicted because a his attorneys are pretty slimy. I think the jury caught up on that. Trump is so disrespectful. He over there falling asleep, drawing in a on a piece of paper, making faces, grunting, like just being really disrespectful. I think they picked up on that. And then when you hear about the jury laughing at Castillo being on the stand, you hear them laughing about the Inquirer guy. Like to them, I think in their mind, they're like, this is so stupid. And then when you couple that with the fact that Trump didn't have a defense,
right.
so there's nothing to combat what the prosecutor said if you don't put on a defense. The only defense that they're going to have is we didn't have to prove anything. It was their job to prove it, and they didn't prove it.
That's all
And
they can
then
say.
the prosecutor, they get the rebuttal, they get that last word, and they can come in and say X, Y, and Z. So I don't see how he
Well,
he wins anything. I
no,
don't see that.
no, there's no way he wins. He's going to get convicted of multiple crimes. I don't know how many, but multiple crimes.
I was saying sweeping, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I
he
just
could.
to me, if there's no defense, I don't see how. I
It,
don't see it, but Maybe he can get off on a couple things.
If now
I don't know.
they may give him a couple gimmies just to try to balance it out, but he's going to get if he gets convicted of more than two crimes, it's pretty much over. Even if he gets one conviction, it's over. I think the one thing that the media is overlooking, and it's something I said about narcissists, and you'll know about this too. Narcissists are really good at looking good, looking impressive from a distance. But when you get
Hmm.
up close to them, you can see the cracks, you can see the ridiculousness, you can see the darkness in their soul. Now, this jury, even if they were Trump fans, they're seeing Donald Trump in a much different light than they've ever seen him before. They're seeing
Yeah.
him up close. They're seeing his disrespect, his disdain,
Hmm.
his poor behavior, his sleeping, his shaking his head. He's disrespected the jury. He's disrespected the judge. He's disrespected his lawyers and the other lawyers. There's nobody that can feel sunny and warm about this fucking clown.
Yeah, I think that maybe in Trump's heyday, even maybe a little bit in 2015, 2016, I think that he was that type of person when he knew how to turn it off and on.
Yeah,
Even if he could turn it off or on for just like a little while, just long enough for him to say what he had to say, get through the interview, whatever, and then get on. He doesn't have the capability of turning it off and on right now. He's not stable. He's out of control. And
right,
it's insane for him to think that this jury hasn't picked up on that like at all. It's crazy. And
right,
I think that he knows that too. That's why him and Fox, they do these pieces on the judge and the jury.
right, right,
I think one thing we've learned from this, and I don't even think that they're going to do what's in the best interest for America. This trial right here, it should have been televised. I don't know why it wasn't. The DC trial, that should be televised because we clearly see what happens when you don't televise it. You
right.
get to allow Lena Haba to go on Fox, all these people to come out there and spew this crazy stuff. If this trial was publicized, do you think that his little minions from Congress would have came down there and stood in front of the microphone and said whatever it is Trump couldn't say in that weird echoey hallway? Why is it's so weird? It's so echoey and weird. Like it's like a comedy skit that can't nobody write.
Well,
I don't think that would have happened if you put like let the American people see it for themselves and then make up their minds for themselves. I think there's a part of the population that no matter what you show them, they're still going to believe Trump. However, I think it would have impacted more people than we can even imagine if they
right.
were able to watch this trial live as it happened and saw what happened in the courtroom instead of hearing these weird spins that the right is putting on it.
Here's the thing that some people, and this is just my opinion, but based on psychology, you can ask your daughter about this because she's more knowledgeable about this stuff. But I read people and
She can write prescriptions now. Sorry, I
oh,
just had a bad at that.
nice. But the thing about it is that when this conviction or multiple convictions comes down, I've said before that this changes everything. People talking about other cases, Florida, DC, Georgia. I think a conviction or multiple convictions in this weakens the position of Donald Trump. Whether he goes to jail or not, it doesn't really matter. The convictions weaken his stance, it weakens the Republican stance. And then once this is done, a precedent has been set. And then we can focus on the Jack Smith with Georgia, DC, and Florida with Jack Smith. Um, this is like the first domino to fall when the convictions come down, and there's no going back at that point. It's not getting better for Donald Trump. It's just going to go downhill very quickly. That's why I tell people this case is the most important because it's the one we're dealing with now. We're going to have a decision before the election. We're going to have a decision before the Supreme Court comes out with their decision on immunity, which doesn't affect this case at all. I mean, they can
Yeah,
tell him he has immunity. It doesn't affect this case at all because this all happened before he was president. But I really believe that the convictions we're going to see, presumably this coming week, changes the whole landscape for Republicans, for Donald Trump, And I don't know that the Republicans realize it, and I know Democrats don't really realize it. But this one step, this one change where Donald Trump has actually been held accountable and there's really no way out. Yeah, he can appeal it, but that's going to take 2 years. And in all that time, he's a convicted felon. This changes everything and not for the better for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think what you said about it being a domino effect is right. Um, because Donald Trump cannot hold it together now.
Right.
Wait until the convictions come through. He's really going to be unglued. And I think the more Donald Trump talks, the more he's out there, the more the Republicans like grovel at him and all this weird stuff. I think that the people that's not really paying attention right now, when they start to pay attention, it just reminds them of what it was like during his presidency. Like a lot of the stuff, I do think that people, I don't know if they are intentionally blocking it out. I don't know if it's like trauma and they're seeing it different because I know what that's like. Um, but I do think that it will remind a lot of people of what it was really like during his presidency. The injecting bleach, the thousands of people passing away a day, the lies that he told, and he only told the truth when he were caught up. Like I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. Then here comes Bob Woodward with a whole audio. Why does man keep getting caught on audio?
Yeah.
Anyway, a whole audio tape of him explaining how dangerous it is. Um, I never said anything about 11,000 votes. Then you turn around here, you got the Georgia tape. Like it just reminds people of the type of person that he is. So it's just kind of like those people who were like putting it in the back of their mind, people who were forgetting about it, people who just didn't want to remember it for whatever reason. I think this kind of brings it to the forefront and it forces them to pay attention. I think the best thing that Donald Trump can do is be normal, and he's just not capable of doing that.
No,
He's not.
he's not capable of doing that. I'm going to make this prediction 5, 10 years from now. He is going to be the butt of tons of jokes. We will have to laugh about it, just not to cry. His ridiculousness. I mean, at this point, the media has legitimized and gave him credibility for even the craziest shit he says. But when we look back on history, it's not going to be kind to Donald Trump. Donald Trump will end up being a pariah. But if you remember, well, you don't remember because you were too young, but Richard Nixon, when he resigned, and he was a pariah, and eventually he became the butt of all jokes. Richard Nixon this, Richard Nixon that. Donald Trump is Richard Nixon times 1,000, and he will be in the conversation for years, but all of it will be mocking for Donald Trump. And the Republicans that stood by him will deny him. There will be a whole shitload of Judases. Oh, I never liked him. I didn't do anything. But they're going to be embarrassed. And like I've told people before, those people that stood by him and then deny him after he's taken down, I'll be
Yeah.
there to remind those motherfuckers. No, you said this, and now you should be embarrassed because you were a fool. You were tricked.
Did you see? This just brought it to my mind when we were talking about Nixon. Did you see Romney saying why Joe Biden should pardon Trump?
Yeah. What little respect
What is
I
wrong
had
with these
for
people?
what
What is
little
wrong with these people? It wouldn't be no Donald Trump if we
no
would have held that fool accountable. Why would we just do that again?
what little respect I had for Mitt Romney is absolutely gone. He is nothing
Yeah,
more than part of the problem. He tried to play himself off to be the one of the normal Republicans, and I call them normal Republicans sometimes, but in fact, there are no normal Republicans. Either they were MAGA or they supported MAGA. And they all did. Every fucking one of them. No matter if you think they're good ones or bad ones, I would say all Republicans in the House and the Senate are as good as MAGA, uh, whether they see themselves as part of MAGA or they want to separate themselves from MAGA. They were part and parcel to the damage MAGA did to this country.
yeah. Even people who vote for Trump now, whether they want to say they are racist or not, like at the end of the day, Trump has no policy except for kick all the brown people out, give all the rich people tax cuts and everybody else can fend for themselves. I'm just going to go around pissing off the libtards like y'all like. That's his only policy. So if you're voting for Trump because of policy, you're voting for racist policies. So
Right.
whether you want to admit it or not, you complicit to being a racist, in my opinion, you are a racist. But what they
Yeah.
don't seem to understand is you can still be racist.
Yeah.
There's nobody telling you that you cannot be racist. People will say, I'm not doing business at your establishment because you're racist.
Right.
I'm not going to be around you because you're racist. I think you're the crumb of the earth because you're racist. Okay, people can do what they want, right? But
Right.
nobody is saying you can't be racist. So you can still be racist and vote for democracy. You can still be racist and vote for someone who doesn't want your children's head to get blown off every time they go to school. You can still be racist for people who want to make sure that the retirement age is at a decent age where you can still enjoy your second half, right?
Right.
You can still
Right.
be racist and vote for unions. You can still do all of these things. So it's not like Donald Trump comes along with the racist card. There's still people you can vote for that will benefit you and your family. And then you can just sit your butt in your house and be as racist as you want to. But you can still make sure your kids have good schools. They can eat lunch for free and you don't have to struggle and try to figure out where that's coming from. You can still be a crumb human being and vote for your own best interest.
Right.
They act like because they racist, they have to vote for the worst people ever. And in the meantime, literally shoot them own self in the foot.
So
To me,
here,
it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you have to vote for Trump. You can't vote for anybody decent because there's plenty of racist people within the Republican Party, but they are still for free school lunches. They are still pro democracy. Like there's people who will still do for you while being racist. I don't get why they act like Donald
so
Trump is their only option. It's so
so
weird to me.
so just people understand here. We have Old Soul, who is a compassionate black woman, appealing to racists to vote for Democrats. Uh,
Because you can vote
okay,
for Joe
okay.
Biden and still be racist. You can say, you know what, I'm racist. I don't like brown people in this country, but I don't want a dictator.
Well,
You can do that.
the thing about it is I've heard from some young people who said I don't like Joe Biden. I'm not voting for Joe Biden. And I always say, well, what's your play then? You're going to vote Democrat, or are you going to vote? Are you going to vote Republican, or are you going to vote third party and then in essence voting Republican? I explain to people like this. In life, you don't always get what you want right away. Sometimes you have to hop on a path to get to where you want to be. So now you have two paths. You have a Democratic path and you have a Republican path with Donald Trump. If you jump on the path with Joe Biden, yes, you may not get everything you want right now, but at least that path will lead you someplace where you can make better decisions when you're in a position to make those better decisions to get to where you want to go. But
Mm-hmm.
if you vote for Donald Trump because you're mad at Joe Biden, you will never, ever, ever get to where you want to go. You will have owned the libtards by voting for a Republican, but they are going to stop you from doing anything they don't want you to do. They talk about freedom, but all they do is steal freedom from you. They've done it, they will continue to do it, and if you allow them, they'll take it all from you. So you can be mad
Yeah.
at Joe Biden, but if you want to get to where you want to get, you're going to have to suck it up a little bit, Buttercup. Do what you got to do, and then make some changes. The millennials and the Gen Zs, they're going to have most of the control come 2028. So step up and do your fucking business. But you got to be able to get there in order to do that. If you go the other way, you're fucked. You've given up. You want what you want, you're never going to get it.
What I would say to anybody thinking like that, whether they young, old, whatever, and it's just so crazy that I have to say this, especially to adults, because this is something like I was taught as a child, so I don't understand how they don't know that as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is Joe Biden is somebody who is willing to listen, adapt, and change. There were certain stances that he had in 1980 that he's completely on the other side of it now,
Right.
just from getting to know people, see circumstances, seeing the world from different people's point of view. And he changed because he can see how those policies affect people.
Right.
Even being in office for like right now, when you look at Israel, Gaza, and what's going on, you can see him being pushed and he can change. Donald Trump, what he thought in 1970 is what he thinks today. He hasn't changed his viewpoint on nothing. You're not gonna be able to inspire him or appeal to his better person to change him. Joe Biden is somebody who you can change, who can compromise, he can negotiate. He's been compromising, and that's why anything that's gotten through right now is because he's pushed people to compromise. Donald Trump is not going to compromise. It is what it is. You're going to be stuck with whatever it is that he say it is.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, why would you look at Joe Biden and he is giving you 90% of what you want? 90%. The other 10% you don't get. So you're going to give up 90% of what you want. You're just going to get that 90% up because you can't get 10%. Where they do that at?
Well, I can
That
tell
makes
you
absolutely no sense.
I can tell you this. I'm 64 years old. The first president I ever voted for was Ronald Reagan. Why I did that? I was 20. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and it was a different time. But I will tell you this, in all the presidential elections since 1980 that I voted in, there has never been one candidate that encompasses all the things I want for this country. Not one time. Not one candidate. We've had good candidates. Obama. I liked Obama, but he didn't bring all the
Mm-hmm.
things to the table that I wanted to. Part of that was because he was being obstructed by the Republicans. My point is that there are going to be candidates, and even when they're younger candidates than Joe Biden, you're still not going to get everything you want. It's on
Right.
you to participate and to vote and to get Congress going your way and to get legislatures in your state going your way. But you're never going to get everything you want. So stop being a spoiled little bitch and do the best you can with what you have to fucking work with.
I mean, that's real life too, right? Are
Yeah.
you ever going to be in a relationship with somebody that's just 100% perfect, correct all the time? No, I love my
No.
baby more than life itself. But that heifer got cold feet. And every time she's in my bed, she's like sucking up all the heat out of the covers. She will wash
Yeah.
dishes but refuse to put them away. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's never going to be some person that's 100% of what you want all the time. And if you are aiming for perfection, you're never going to get anywhere and you're going to be let down all the time.
Oh,
It's just that simple. Life does not work where you get 100% of what you want 100% of the time.
no.
And when you look at people, just look at Congress, look at Trump. These are people who are unwilling to compromise on anything. And where did that get them? Look at the Republicans in the House. This is the most do nothing Congress in history. Why?
Yeah.
Because they refuse to compromise. If it's not 100% my way, we're not doing nothing, period. And the only time something did move forward was when they compromised and thought, okay, I can't get 100%, but maybe I can get this over here. When they do that, then you get the budgets passed, you get legislation through. But as long as you just sit there and just say it got to be 100% or nothing, there's no progress to be made at all. Life doesn't work like that. Politics don't work like that. Relationships don't work like that. Nothing works like that. So
No.
I don't get that mindset to where I have to have 100% of what I want now.
Yeah.
You pick the best person, especially if Biden giving you 90%, and you know he's willing to compromise, and you know that you can change him on some issues. I don't understand the process that because he failed at one thing you didn't like, or maybe two or three things that you didn't like, but this is the person who gave you your student debt relief. This is the
Right.
person that brought jobs to small towns. These used to be factoring jobs. There used to be like boom in there with these factories and all this stuff. He's bringing jobs back there. This is the person that like gave you a way to make a living in a small town. And
Right.
you're just like, well, nah, it's something that's happening in another country. I'm not happy with that. So we just gonna screw this country. I
Well,
don't get that either.
this is why this country has been the way it is. It always seems to be the case. You have a Democratic president, maybe he gets 2 terms, and then people get tired of that shit and then they vote Republican. They go 2 terms and then they vote Democrat. People don't know what they fucking want. They don't pay attention to what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
benefits any who benefits them. So a lot of it has to be laid on to the general public. They're not well informed. They aren't motivated to become well informed. So they make the same mistake over and over again. I think what Donald Trump has done that's going to benefit this country, hard as this may be, everything he's done has brought all the negative shit that politicians do to the surface. Now we can see it. It's been revealed to us. We've seen the evidence. So when a Democrat gets back in and we get some good things done for the middle class, people are going to remember how horrific this time is. Maybe people don't even realize how bad it is until after they get out of it, but they will not
Yeah.
forget this. This has been too traumatic.
You know what it reminds me of? Like, you'll get like a president, like Democrat presidents, like two, we get maybe two Democrat presidents in a row, and then we
Mhm.
have a Republican that come in there and just messes everything up, and then you have to put Democrats back in there to clean the mess up all over again. It's like you take 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back every single time. You know what I mean? So you come off the heels of like Clinton, and then you have Bush. And it's
Right,
like, oh, we didn't take 2 steps back. We took like 4 steps back with him.
right,
Because when Obama had to come in there and there was like so many crises going on, the war was going on, everything was like upside down and chaotic.
right.
And then you put Obama in there, he cleans everything up. You put Trump in there and he messes everything up again. So I used to look at it as like, okay, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but technically it's a step forward, so it ain't that bad. But when you have people as hideous as like Bush, war criminal, and Trump, it's like you took 2 steps forward, but then you took like 4 steps back, especially when it comes to like women's rights, LGBTQ rights. How many steps back to come when you start banning books out of school and public libraries?
Right.
It's just, it's so far back to the point there's like real issues. I can't even fight for the issues that I feel are important for women because Roe v. Wade is overturned. Now I have to focus over here. So not
Right.
only does it take us backwards, but it also just like stops progress dead in its tracks. And in the meantime, people are really being affected by that, which is
Yeah.
insane.
It's kind of like the teenage girl that always has to go out with the bad boy. It never turns out right, but they just go get another bad boy. You don't fucking
Mm-hmm.
learn a lesson. And that's what we need to do in this country is learn some lessons and
Yeah.
remember what was good, what was bad, and then vote accordingly. And we haven't been able to do it up to this point, but the last 7 years have been so horrific. I'm hoping
Yeah.
this has set the tone in people's minds and they just aren't going to want to do this anymore. Um,
I think people almost have to kind of block some of it out.
yeah.
And this is weird because I was talking to my brother about this when I was like I was little, like 8, 9 years old. My mother, she was on drugs. She wasn't allowed in the house after she stole from us so many amount of times. And so she would always come to my bedroom window and she would knock on the window. And I would like sneak and let her in the house. And she would like sleep in my bed and I would try to hide her and stuff. And then my grandmother would like, get up in the morning and I would have to like sneak my mother out. A couple of times I got caught, but you know, I was always gonna open the window and let her in the house, right? One night, her and one of her little crackhead friends, they knocked on the window. And I saw, like, why is all this water on my mom? Like, this is so weird. And Tracy, she was looking at me, she was like, oh, you need to go call the police. And I'm like, why is she wet? And so I was like bringing towels to her. And they were looking at me like I was crazy. And she was like, go call the police. So I call the police, they come, and I'm like, why is my mom so wet? And then they call an ambulance. I couldn't understand like why the ambulance and the police was there. My brother was crying and screaming. My grandmother was upset. And I'm like, over some water? Come to find out, like somebody tried to murder her. She stole something, they tried to murder her. And so they bit her in her head, like hit her in her head with like one of those tire arms, and her
Oh,
skull was like cracked open. And it wasn't blood, it was water to me. Everybody else saw blood. I saw water. And it was like, it was so much, it was trauma. I didn't see what everybody else was seeing. And so sometimes when I think about Trump supporters, especially Republicans who grew up believing in this country, being patriotic and all this other kind of stuff, when they see January 6th, it's like they can see it, but they can't see it
Right.
because like maybe it's like traumatizing to them, maybe it's like traumatic to them. It's not the same thing because to this day it's like I could just see my mom just sitting there like squirting water all over the place, which is weird. But I'm thinking like maybe some of them, it's like some of them they just don't want to see it, some of them know what it is, but I'm thinking like what if some of them like literally like can't face what it is, like they can't compute that in their brain, especially when it's they dads and brothers and cousins and all that stuff. Like they just their brain doesn't allow them to believe that. What do you think?
Well, I think there's something to that. I think a couple of things. I think there are people that are just dumb. I think there are people that do block things out. I mean, if we look back in our history, we remember all the good things and typically block out the bad things. I think at the same time, I think they know it's bad, but their only go-to is trying to trigger libtards. So either by gaslighting them or by just saying stuff they know isn't true just to trigger libtards. I mean, that's the only strategy they have is try to shove it in our face. We see it all the time. We see it with the hearings and the attempt to impeach Joe Biden and the attempt to prosecute Hunter Biden. It's all about making Democrats and or Joe Biden look bad. That's their whole game. So they may know very well that January 6th was an insurrection, but they will never say it because it's all about making the Democrats look bad, which is ironic because everything that happens these days makes the Republicans look bad. And instead of answering that and instead of trying to argue that, they I know kids like this. If I said, Johnny, you stole something, um, instead of saying, no, I didn't steal something, or here's why I didn't steal something, they immediately turn it back on me and start saying, yeah, but you did this and you did that,
Yeah.
trying to drown out the accusation made about them by accusing you with more. And it's really a childish strategy or a behavior, but that's really what we're looking at with these fucks. They can't argue the point, so they just divert and distract and blame in it's a constant attack. There is no defense. It's just always an attack. And eventually, you know, with a narcissist or whoever, when you watch it, it gets to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's where we are with the Republicans now. Oh, Joe Biden's going to assassinate Donald Trump. Please, motherfucker, do you really expect us to believe that? But that's how ridiculous it's gotten. It's about always attack, never support what you're doing.
But those people that, not the ones that know better, I think they just as bad as Donald Trump. I really do.
I do too.
The ones who, for whatever, they're so eager to hear what it is that they want to hear, like they just can't face it. I sometimes wonder when did that start? Like, did it start during COVID to where, I mean, like seeing thousands of people die a day. It's traumatic. It's trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they are looking for someone to tell them something that is not confirming what they think or what they feel, but it's something they're telling them something so that they don't have to believe that it's as bad as it is. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they don't want to believe that 1,000 people are dying a day from COVID. So when Trump comes over here and say, "Oh, they're just inflating the numbers," they're lying. These people are dying from heart attacks. These are not all COVID cases. It's easier to believe that than it is to face the fact that a lot of people are dying from COVID.
But
You
that,
are one
that
of these people running out here not wanting to wear a mask. So in some way, maybe you feel complicit in that and you just don't want to face it. You don't want to deal with it. I sometimes like wonder when that started. I know it didn't start in 2015. I know it didn't start in 2016. Like,
no.
when did that come to where it's so bad that I cannot face the truth? Like,
Well,
when did that happen?
the thing
It's
about it
so,
is maybe you can relate to this as well as anybody. I experienced a little bit with my mom. Um, it's like an abused spouse. They can get their ass kicked. The police can come and the spouse will still try to play it off, try to
yeah.
apologize for the person, no matter how bad it is. Now, I can't relate to that because I wouldn't do that, but I know my mom did, and you were abused as a significant other. Um, Isn't that the case though? People once they, I've said that people in this country as a whole can almost look at themselves as abused children by the way they were
Mm.
treated by Donald Trump and the Republicans over the last 7, 8 years. There's a lot of PTSD out there. And,
Yeah.
that's maybe why I can't comprehend why people think and say the things they do, because I don't recognize that kind of trauma. I set it aside. It doesn't affect me. But most people it does. And don't you get to a point where you have to try to explain it away? Well, it's really not that bad. It's not that bad, even though my husband kicked my ass.
The mindset is so like the brain. It's like it's this weird thing that we don't really understand all the way. But a lot of it is repetition. Like
Yeah,
you never enter into a relationship as like a battered spouse or a victim of DV. Like that just doesn't happen. So it just kind of like starts off as something small and then gradually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But in the meantime of all of that, there's all like these good moments, these happy moments, these birthday parties, your kid is born, and all this good stuff is going on. So you have the good and the bad kind of like tangled in that together. And then you're kind of like programmed to tolerate a certain amount, and then that amount that you can tolerate, it becomes like more and more and more and more. And then you justify within your own self why you stay in that situation, whether it's I grew up in a broken home, or I grew up without a dad. I want my daughter to have a dad. I don't want her to come from a broken home, or he's not that bad, or maybe if I did this or that different, maybe he wouldn't react the way that he does. Like you're programmed. I don't want to say programmed to be a victim because that's just disrespectful, but you're programmed to think a certain type of way. And until you like step out of it and you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of crazy. But they kind of like train you to think a certain way. And
right,
it's not like a big thing. Like if Trump would have took office on day one and it would have been a January 6th, this whole entire country, Republicans or not, would have went upside that man's head and buried him under the jail.
right, right,
But throughout his presidency, it was like bit by bit by bit. Like first it was like, okay, he tells a lot of lies and we can't stop him from lying. So we already know he gonna lie. We're not ever gonna be calling him out on his lies anymore because it's not worth it. You know
right,
what I mean? And then it's like, oh, I can nuke a hurricane. And then you have the gaslighting coming in there. Well, it was a joke. He didn't really mean it. And so it's easy to excuse that. Or he did this bad thing, but he gave us this check, or he did this, or he did that. You find ways to justify why you stay in a certain situation and why you believe a certain way. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like unless you was in it,
right.
you don't really know. Like your mind is like really twisted up
I get that.
around one person or an idea, and you just find yourself making excuses for it, but not just excuses, like justifying it in some weird kind of way.
I kind of get the impression, and I'm thinking in my mind, and my mind's a little weird, but I'm thinking that all the time this is going on, you know how traumatic it could be with a breakup and all that other stuff. You're working overtime trying to figure out the situation and how to handle the situation. Unfortunately, it's a
Yeah.
situation that cannot be figured out. So you're trying the impossible.
Yeah, you see it with in when it comes to Trump. I've never seen it done like politically.
No,
Like
I haven't
anytime
either.
I'm like at the shelter and I'm helping like DV victims and stuff like that, even some of the people now that the girls that come here, it's I don't know how to explain it. You kind of just get used to it. Like
Yeah,
your normal is not everybody else's normal.
right,
If you just get used to it,
right.
you'll be surprised like how much a person can take. Like you
Well,
could get beat in the head and like to everybody else, like, oh my God, he just hit you in your face. But to
right,
you, it's like, well, it's better than when he was dragging me across the floor. This is just a mild day.
right,
And in
right,
your mind, you're not looking at it like he shouldn't be doing any of this.
right.
Just
You're just,
justify it. You make excuses for it. And then you also think that you're doing it for like the better good. Like for me, it's like, I don't want my daughter to grow up in a broken home. I ain't got no job. I don't want her struggling. So I'm going to put up with him so that she'll be better off. Like
yeah.
people do make justifications in their mind and they're nonsensical. But after years and years, you start to believe it.
That's how my mom explained it to me. She had 4 little kids. My dad was who he was. She didn't have a job or a career because she was a 60s mom. She didn't even fucking drive. So she was trapped. She had nothing she could do. She was trying to protect us to the best of her ability, and she had no options but deal
Yeah.
with the abuse. We're going to have to wrap things up, but I want to confess something to you because I'm very
Yeah.
excited about this week. Um, I think people have noticed that I have occasion to be a little petty about things. And I think these days being petty is kind of cool. I think a lot of people are owning up to being petty. But I am so excited this week because we are probably going to have a verdict in the Donald Trump criminal trial, and he's going to be convicted of multiple criminal charges. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah.
But all this time since I've been talking about Donald Trump, I have had Republicans, and they're doing it even today, saying, oh, Donald Trump will never be convicted. I've got Democrats coming to me going, he'll never be convicted. I'm going to come out and do a TikTok and I'm going to say Donald Trump has been convicted by of X amount of felony charges. And then I'm just going to fucking laugh. I'm going to laugh at the Democrats. I'm going to laugh at the Republicans who have been talking this shit for so long. And now we proved that you're fucking wrong. I'm just so tired of the defeatist attitudes, the fatalism, and they're convinced, oh, nothing's going to ever happen to Donald Trump. Fuck you. It's happening this week.
You're here for the conviction, not the sentence. Okay, here's one thing that happens when you from my community. I'm pretty sure this is not going to happen with Trump, but this is what we go through. When you get charged with anything and you go to court, the judge, the prosecutors, your own attorneys, everybody will tell you, take this deal. If you don't take this deal and you go to trial, we're going to give you the maximum amount of time. Why? Because you wasted court time, you wasted resources, you cost us money, blah, blah, blah. Take the deal and you'll be out in a little bit. Don't take this deal, you're going to be in there for 20, 30 years. Like
Right.
that's just, when you take it to trial, you get a harsher sentence when you're found guilty. That's just what it is. I don't think that's going to happen with Trump. I would like to see him do some jail time, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm just here for the conviction because I know in the long run, the conviction is what matters, not the sentence.
Right, right. That's what matters. And I don't think he's going to be offered. You know, people always say, "Well, just take a deal." You got to be offered a fucking deal to take a deal. And I don't think the
Mm-hmm.
prosecution is going to offer a deal when it looks so good for them to win. There is no advantage. And this is a historical case. They're going to want to see it to the end. If they cut him a deal, there is going to be a prosecution that is going to be in a shitstorm. People are going to be pissed. But the thing about it is I don't think Donald Trump would cut a deal because then he would have to admit he's wrong. And he just cannot do that. He just refuses to do it.
Do you know with Trump, a lot of people have been like, because he doesn't technically have a criminal record, Trump has like a whole pattern. He
Yeah,
got a whole trail of victims in his path.
right.
I don't think I was hoping at one point because the Secret Service, they were making arrangements in case this fool got to go to jail. And then it just stopped. They stopped talking about it. So I was just like, yeah, it's not going to happen. But I just feel I'm happy that it's happening. I know it's going to benefit us in the long run. But for me, at the end of the day, it's still frustrating because
Yeah.
you can actually target the jury. You can break your gag order so much that the prosecutor was like, you know what, the case is almost over. We're not even going to go to the judge talking about his gag orders no more. It is what it is. His flunkies that came down here, they doing what they doing. It's not worth it, whatever. Like he broke the gag order so hardcore that the prosecutors was like, it ain't worth trying to get him no more.
Well, that,
Nobody gets to do that. And then he attacks the judge's daughter,
but who's to
and then he
say?
gets to go stand in front of this man and get
I,
sentenced to what?
I don't know if this is possible because he's reserved judgment on the gag order, this last one. He didn't want to disrupt the case because it was going along smoothly and quickly. He wanted to get it done and get a verdict. I have to question whether or not the judge can say, oh, by the way, after the verdict's in, You broke the gag order. You're going to go sit in jail for a couple days while you're waiting to get fucking sentenced, you piece of shit. I don't know if that's possible, but in my fantasies, I'm thinking of that.
I think he should have been sitting in jail. There's
Yeah,
no way Trump shouldn't have been on pretrial detention. No way.
yeah.
You see that guy who stole all that crypto money, and then he did that revenge porn on his girlfriend. They came to his house like that, and put his butt in jail, and he got to sit there.
You know
With
the thing.
Donald Trump, he didn't break the gag order. He broke the gag order. He broke the gag order. He broke it again. He broke it 10 times in a row. And
Right,
then after he broke it 10 times, he had his homies come down there and not just break the gag order, but this is the judge in charge of your trial.
right.
And you are out here defaming his daughter. Like he's just attacking this woman for no reason.
Now, now,
And he
now,
feels confident that he can go to trial, he can get convicted after doing all of this crap, and then he gets to go home.
but
Like he's confident in that.
here's the thing
Like,
you got to
where's the justice there? Where's the justice?
here's the thing you got to understand is that when he gets convicted and he appeals it and he pays a bond or whatever, if he's even got any money left, he's going to be released from jail on bond pending appeal, presumably. But there's some rules you got to follow. And if you
Yeah,
don't follow those rules, like the gag order, you can go to jail. Well, we're in a much different situation prior to these verdicts. Prior to these verdicts, he's a former president, and that's why he's gotten some sway. But once he's been convicted, now he's just a fucking convict. And if he breaks those rules, he may spend a couple days in jail here and there because he's going to have to follow some rules, regulations as to the release. He's already broken some of the rules to the release in the other cases because he's on bail on all these motherfucking things. He's got rules
yeah.
he's got to follow. Once this conviction comes in, you remember, I told people this. I said, once that first indictment comes, then everybody's going to jump on board. And that's exactly what happened. Alvin Bragg indicted him, and then everybody else came. Once Alvin
Yeah.
Bragg convicts him, that's going to let the avalanche go. Now people are going to feel free to do whatever the fuck they want, and Donald Trump is going to learn some lessons, hard lessons, very fast.
To me, justice would look like this is your sentence. You have the right to appeal, just like everybody else. You can appeal while you're sitting in jail.
Yeah,
That's what you can do.
they don't have to
That's
release him
to
on bail.
Yeah, to me, that's what justice looks like,
Right.
especially when he is such a clear and present danger, threat. But it's just kind of like everybody else and the country itself has to be sacrificed for one man. And in my opinion, and other people share this opinion, a man that ain't even worth it.
But a man who will be a convicted felon, and that changes everything. And that
Yeah,
may change.
how can you not vote, but you can still run for president?
I don't know. I don't know. Well,
I can't vote for myself. You vote for me.
yeah, exactly. Well, old soul, we're going to wrap things up. You've been up for 51 hours, 52 hours now. You need to go to sleep, get that prescription from your daughter, take that shit, and go to bed. You did a great job for being up for 50 hours, but now's the time to go to bed.
Yeah, and if I'm not in the comment section, it's because I got knocked out.
There you go. There
Not
you go.
physically, but
No, I know, I get it. Now, those of you listening, thank you for spending time to listen to the program. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.